Alright, welcome back to another episode on our RNG series. In this episode we're gonna be taking a look at the inventory. And no, we aren't gonna be scripting the inventory this episode, we're gonna do that in a later episode. For now we're just gonna do the UI, because the UI will take a long time. So, what we're gonna do is we're gonna insert a screen GUI into our starter GUI. And this time we're gonna be calling this underscore inventory. You're not gonna be doing multiple or just one screen GUI for the sidebar this time, like in the last tutorial of an RNG series, I guess. But we're gonna do separate screen GUIs just because it's gonna be a bit simpler, I would say. So go ahead and create a frame. And while we're at it, we can also go into the screen GUI, enable ignore GUI inset and disable reset on spawn. I think we did the same thing for the bottom bar, in case you haven't done that, so you can directly check that. And sure, let's disable the bottom bar for now, so we can focus on the inventory. Actually, sorry, my bad, we're gonna be enabling that so we can get the ratios correct. So for the first frame, that's gonna be our background frame on how big the inventory is actually gonna be. So put anchor point to 0.5 as well as the position, and then we are gonna be renaming this frame to the background. This is gonna be clips descendant enabled, and the size is probably gonna be something like 0.5, 0.5. We can go a bit bigger, so maybe 0.6, 0.6. Yeah, I like that. We can use this. So now we can put the background transparency to something high, so we can still see the background a tiny bit, so we know what we're doing. And now we can actually start. First things first, we are gonna do a big frame at the top, something like this. Should be bigger, yeah, something like this. So 1,0.1, yeah, 1,0.1, and then make this background color black as well as background transparency 0.25. Inside this frame, or actually first let's rename this to name this the title frame, or just the title frame, like this. And then we are gonna add another frame inside. This is gonna be the inner, of course, with the anchor point 0.5 and position 0.5. And then for the size we're just gonna do 0.975 and 0.9. That is a bit too less on the X, so we're gonna do it a bit more, so maybe 0.99. That looks good. And this should be a bit less, so 0.85 maybe. That looks good. So we can make the background color. The background color doesn't matter actually, but the background transparency is set to 1. And add a UI stroke, how we did with all the other GUI. The thickness 1.1 I think we had, and the color is white. I think the stroke on those buttons at the bottom are a bit thicker, so I have to quickly check again. This was 0.5, okay. So if we go in this stroke, we can also say 0.5 here, and this looks the same now. Inside this inner frame, we are gonna add a text label with the anchor point 0.5 again on both, as well as the position 0.5 on both again. For the size, I'm gonna do 85x, and same for the vertical. Looks good, yeah, I like that. Make this invisible and go down to the font. I'm gonna be using Sono Warner Space because that's what we've been using for every other GUI. Then we're gonna be scaling this and making the color to white on the text. You can also rename this directly to be like the inventory. And you just gotta figure out a vertical axis for how big your font should be. I'm gonna be scaling it down to maybe 0.75, and I feel like that looks way better. You can also copy it off different games to kind of check how it would look, but I feel like 0.75 would be probably the best. Sure, let's rename this to title and add a text bar. Actually, no, we don't need any. This is just gonna be our inventory, like this. Add another frame inside the background. This is gonna be our storage frame. And this has to be on the right side. Because this is on the right side, we can do anchor point on 1 as well as comma 1. So the anchor point is gonna be set to the lower right corner of the actual frame. Because if we position this to just 1, 1, you would see it's gonna be at the bottom right of our background frame right here. So inside the storage frame, we should probably set the size to 0.75 and 0.9. I feel like this works already, we shouldn't make it any bigger. So if it works, it works. And you know, background color black and background transparency set to 0.25 like we did with all the other GUIs. And now that we are in here, I feel like we could add a little spacing in between the title and the storage. So let's go ahead and do this. Go inside the title frame and just scale it down from 0.1 to 0.09. And that is a bit too much, so 0.095. And as you can see, there is a tiny gap, but I don't think it's noticeable. So I feel like just keeping it on 0.1 is probably fine. I mean, we are gonna be adding a stroke inside here, so it really doesn't matter. There is gonna be a gap anyways. This is gonna be the inner as well, with a position 0.5 and anchor point 0.5. The size probably 9.5 on both. We can increase this a bit. Could be like 9.7. Looks good, but a bit less on the vertical. Yeah, I like this. Background transparency set to 1. Add a UI stroke. 1.5 thickness as always. And color white. Now that I'm looking at it, I feel like this is a bit too much of a spacing. So let's increase it again. I do like that a bunch more. Yeah, I do like this a lot more. So the scaling should be 0.98 and 0.97. As you can see, it looks way better. Inside this inner frame, we are gonna add a scrolling frame. And this is gonna be our main holder. This main holder, anchor point set to 0.5, as well as the position 0.5. For the size, we are gonna do 9.8. So there's a tiny little spacing away from, you know, the actual corner, I guess. And background transparency set to 1 as always. For the scroll bar, you can just make this white, I feel like. That works. And the thickness probably to something low, like maybe 3. So you can see there's a tiny little bar, but not as noticeable. And while we are at it, I don't think we're gonna be doing a search bar right now. Maybe in a future episode with all the filters and everything, but not right now. Actually, sure, we're doing the UI, so we have time for that. Go ahead and scale this inner frame down from vertical 9.7. We are gonna do 8.5. That's way too much. We're just gonna do 9.3 maybe. And the position 0.55. No, that's too much. 0.53. No, still too much. 0.525. Looks about... Sure, that looks good. I do like that. And a bit less. Yeah, sure, this works. 0.522. And now, just to check in reverse how it would look at the top, we are gonna do not 522, but 4, let me think, 7, 8. Yeah. You can see this tiny gap down here will be the search bar, and that's not a lot, so we'll have to increase it again. So set it to 0.525 to check. We're gonna do it a bit further down, maybe like 0.57. Nope. 0.54. 0.54 is great. I like that. So now just go ahead and do 0.46. And you can see this gap down here is our search bar. This looks way better in my opinion. It has a bunch more space to add a search bar. And so we're gonna do that. Add a frame and name this the search bar. And I deleted it by accident. Also, the position for this, this has to be 5.4 again, sorry. Up here, our search bar. This is gonna be the search bar F for the search bar frame. The position is fine, but we're gonna do 0.5 on the x-axis and 0 on the vertical, because the anchor point should be the same, 0.5, 0. And then for the actual size, we're gonna do 0.98 and 0.1. It is too much, so not gonna do 0.1, but 0.98 maybe. Oh, that's not what I wanted. 0.98. Too much. 0.9 maybe. Okay, we still need to decrease it. I'm sorry if the UI also takes a bunch of time. It's just, you know how UI works. It just always takes a bunch of time. This looks good to me, but I guess we can decrease it again, because we can add a little spacing in between here. Maybe like this. Yeah, this looks good. So inside the search bar frame, make sure that the position on the vertical is 0.005 and the size is also 0.075. The background transparency is set to 1. Add a UI stroke, thickness 1.5 and color set to white. White, there we go. And now you can see we have a little search bar up here. Inside here we are gonna add a text box. This text box is gonna be anchor point 0.5, position 0.5 and size 9.5. We should probably decrease it in the vertical, so maybe 0.85. I like it more, but still a bit less, I would say. So maybe it's 7.5. Yeah, that's way better. So for this scale is good. I do like that. Then we're also gonna be setting the position to be 0.4 maybe instead. No, too much. What did I just do? I meant to set it to 0.475. That is exactly on the corner, as you can see. But we are not gonna be doing that. We're gonna be setting it to 0.485. Yeah. Maybe even a bit less. Yeah, this is just... Yeah, this is way better. So background transparency is set to 1. Go down here, font face, the one that you've been using the entire time. And then text scaled. We're gonna be setting the text color to white. And the placeholder color, you can leave it like that. The placeholder text is gonna be search ... And then we're gonna be setting the text to nothing. You can also decrease this color of the placeholder. You don't have to, but you can. And then we can also be setting this to text X alignment on the left, as you can see. And I'm gonna be quickly checking in on Souls how they did that. Yeah, it's the same. Alright. One thing Souls RNG did that we didn't do is add a little search icon there. But you don't have to if you don't want to. Actually, we're gonna be doing that. It is a bit... It does look better, in my opinion. So the position 0.5, so you can see there's a little gap in here. And also decrease the X size. So maybe 0.9, 0.75. There we go. Add a little image label on the left. The size can be 0.9 on size constraint relative YY. And then we are gonna be setting this to position or anchor point 0.5 and the position the same. There we go. Add a tiny bit of offset and we don't have to do anything else. You can even decrease that offset. And that's everything we need. This is gonna be the search icon. Background transparency 1, scale type fit. And then we're gonna be adding a new file. I'm gonna be quickly searching an icon. I'm gonna be blurring the screen, so sorry if you cannot see anything. Alright, I found my icon. And as you can see, it is a bit too big. So what we're gonna do is just scaling down our image frame. It is up to you how big you want the image to be. So just find a size you're comfortable with and use that. I do like this 0.65, then we're gonna be increasing this gap again. Yeah, I do like that a lot. Image transparency, increase it a bit so it fits the search bar. And the filters we're gonna do later on in the series. We're just gonna be doing this right now. Back to the main holder right here. Inside here we do need to create a template real quick. So add a text button inside here. Anchor point doesn't matter, as well as the position. But the size constraint should be relative XX. You can also be doing this with a UI flags item, I think. Maybe. I I'm not quite sure how to use these UI items yet, so I do need to look into those. But I guess for now, what we can do is set up a, let me think, UI list layout. This should be working. So horizontal alignment should be left and vertical top, that's good. Enable this wraps right here and fill direction horizontal. On the text button, we're gonna be renaming this to template. And then we're also gonna be setting the size to something we like. Remember, the buttons should never be insanely huge. Alright, I am comfortable with this size, 1.125, sorry, 0.125. The background set to black as well. Background transparency 0.25, you know the deal. Add a UI stroke, thickness 1.5, and color white. Actually, sorry, my bad. We completely forgot to do the inner frame. And so inside the template, one more thing I forgot, is setting the text transparency to 1, so you cannot see the text inside the text button. This frame right here, this is the inner frame that we did with most other, frames, and this is gonna be basically set to a position 0.5 as well as anchor 0.5, and the size probably 0.9. Let me check. Too much. Maybe 9.5. Too less, not too much, sorry. Seems fine, but I do like 9.5 more. Maybe 9.25. Background set to 1. Add a UI stroke, 1.5 thickness, and make it white. There is barely any border, so I feel like this is 9, just 0.9 in general. And yeah, this does look a lot better. Now that you have this template inside the inner frame, you have to add a text label, and we're gonna be naming this the aura name. With the anchor point 0.5 and 0.5 on the position. Size 0.9 again. Background transparency 1. Font size, the one you've been using. Text color white. And enable text scaled. This is gonna be your aura that you can choose. Like this. Yeah, this is everything that we're gonna do. Actually, there are a few more frames that we are gonna add, but I feel like we can do this in a later episode, because this episode is already 30 minutes long somehow. So I think we do need to wrap it up right now, because our long episodes are never good. But if we would, continue this on the side, this would end up 45 minutes, and I don't think that's gonna be good. So I'm gonna be posting another episode tomorrow, just so you guys have the inventory completed, and then we should be able to script it. Before I go, we're gonna be setting the background transparency to 1 on the main background up here. The main holder, the scrolling frame, should be disabled clips descendant, but inside this inner frame, enable clips descendant. So this disabled, but this enabled. So if you scroll, you can see it only goes away on the actual stroke, not before or anything. Inside the scrolling frame also, set the canvas size to 0 and automatic canvas size on Y. That's everything that we're gonna do. If you would clone the template a few times, you can see eventually it goes down. Right. Inside the UI list layout, you can also add a tiny padding, so there's a gap in between the auras. I feel like this gap is fine, we don't need anything more. But if we have that kind of gap, we can also increase the size of those. So maybe 1.35, oh sorry, 0.135, 1.2, no, 0.12, sorry, too small, 0.127, 0.1285, 0.129 maybe, that's still fine. But if I do 0.13, okay, that's still fine. 0.14, nope, 0.13 is fine. So maybe, okay, that's too much. 0.132, 0.133, better. 0.135, no, 4. Okay, that's the max we can do with this padding. And if we were to do one more size, like this, you can see it's gonna go down. So make sure the size is 0.134. There we go. You can now duplicate the templates as much as you want. Eventually, you will see the scroll bar pop up and you will be able to scroll up and down. That is completely fine. Alright. Yeah, thanks for watching. We are gonna be deleting all the templates except one. And now I'm gonna be going offline again. I'm gonna be posting another episode tomorrow. The part 2 of the inventory. And then we are gonna be scripting it. So there should be about 3 episodes on the UI, but we don't need any more. So thanks for watching and see you tomorrow. Bye bye.